Good evening to everyone joining from India, and good morning to our participants joining from the United States. A very warm welcome to our exclusive webinar on opportunities for India-US trade in aerospace and defense. Today's session brings together distinguished leaders and industry experts from both nations to explore emerging avenues for partnership, innovation, and strategic growth in this vital sector. The session is being hosted by IACC Karnataka chapter in strategic partnership with Fairfax County Economic Development Authority, the Virginia Manufacturer Associations, and the Society of Indian Defense Manufacturers. We are also pleased to have with us Mr. Srinivas Murthy, Director, India Office. Our distinguished panel of speakers includes Mr. Brett A. Vesey, President and CEO, Virginia Manufacturers Association, Mr. Joseph Scarletto, EVP Global Technical Lead, AMCUS Inc., Mr. Asher Coates, Assistant Director, International Business Investment, FCEDA, Air Marshal Anil Chopra, PVSM, AVSM, VM, VSM, Strategic Advisor, Aerospace, SIDM, Mr. Subramanya Ulal, Director on the Board of Sasmos Group, Mr. Arunakar Mishra, Managing Director and CEO, Gensar Aerospace and IT Private Limited, Mr. Shyam Karigiri, Managing Director, Moog India Technology Limited, who is also the moderator for today's session. Today, together, they will share insights on strengthening bilateral ties, fostering innovation, and unlocking new growth opportunities in the aerospace and defense sector. I would now like to request our chairman, Mr. Jiral Manoharan, who is the chairman of IACC Karnataka and also senior partner at J. Sagar Associates, to set the session with the opening remarks.
Thank you, Amrita. Good evening and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this online webinar, as we call it. It gives me great pleasure to invite you all to participate and to be part of today's learning session. The speaker lineup, as Amrita just introduced, is superbly stellar. People who have very deep experiences in what they do. And I think what I would like to emphasize as being part of this chamber is to hope that we very soon go away from a webinar format and start doing stuff on ground in terms of calibrating and engaging more physically, between the two jurisdictions, in terms of building greater capacities for bilateral delegations to move between Fairfax and the other regions of the United States and, of course, India, with specific reference to Karnataka. I hope we are able to achieve that sooner than later. And I wish this discussions the very best. And I hope we have a great participating crowd here, which will throw up new questions and you help us to think very differently. I also take this opportunity of introducing my beloved senior, Shyam Karigiri. Shyam is a very integral and active part of the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce. He's been a great contributor to this chamber. He's a managing director of Moog. So Moog is actively involved in the defense and aerospace segment, and they manufacture a number of interesting products in the sector, including servo valves, propulsion, motors, and servo motors. So great to have him moderate the session. I wish you all the very best, and over to you, Amrita, and then to Shyam.
Thank you, Mr. Manoharan. Without any further ado, I would now request Mr. Shyam Karigiri, the Managing Director, Moog India Technology Limited, to address the audience and begin the session. Before that, let me just brief you about Mr. Karigiri. He brings in over 30 years of global experience in aerospace and defense, spanning engineering, designing, testing, certification, and strategic management. He has held leadership positions at UTC Aerospace, HAICO, and Rossell, Texas, before taking charge as the MD of Moog India. He holds multiple international patents and has contributed significantly to strengthening India-US aerospace collaboration. A former chairman of the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce, Karnataka, he continues to advocate for cross-border innovation and partnership. Shyam, over to you.
Thank you very much, Jerry. Thank you very much, Amrita, for the kind introduction. Once again, a warm welcome to the esteemed speakers and also the participants of this webinar. Just a quick snippet at what the company that I work for does. So Moog is a US headquartered company with operations worldwide. On the aerospace side, Moog is the world leader in supply of flight control systems to major OEMs for civil, as well as for military aircrafts. In India, I manage a large technology center for Moog, where we not only carry out design activities, but we also undertake full qualification testing of the components and the subsystems, and even full systems testing of the flight control solutions. We do not necessarily manufacture at the Moog India site, but we do a lot of prototyping and R&D work. And as a matter of fact, very proud to say that the flight control actuators for the Tejas light combat aircraft of India are actually supplied by our company Moog. The reason why I'm bringing this up as an example is because it signifies the cross-boundary collaboration and trade between India and the US in aerospace and defense. So in aerospace and defense, just to set the context, India's defense exports to the US exceeded more than 2.8 billion from the period 2019 to 2024, that 5-year period. And that actually represented over 50% of India's total defense exports during that period. In the same time frame, the US also sold India military equipment worth 20 billion, including aircrafts, helicopters, and missiles and other technologies. So overall, bilateral trade in the sector has grown significantly, with the US becoming India's second largest arms suppliers in recent years. So today, with that context, we have an eminent group of speakers on the panel discussion. I will call upon them one after the other to elicit their views and thoughts from them on today's topic. And towards the end of the session, we'll also take some questions from our webinar attendees, and hopefully we'll be able to answer them to your satisfaction. First, I would like to introduce Mr. Asher Coates, who is the Assistant Director, International Business Investment, Fairfax County Economic Development Authority. In short, we call it FCEDA. So Asher leads FCEDA's international business investment programs for both India and Israel, promoting foreign direct investment as well as supporting innovative companies expanding into Northern Virginia in the US. Mr. Coates has been instrumental in fostering bilateral cooperation, including the establishment of, interestingly, the first direct flight from Delhi back in 2017 and from Tel Aviv from the Israel and back in 2019 to Washington Dulles International Airport. Prior to FCEDA, he has spent 13 years in Silicon Valley in technology and cybersecurity firms. He holds an MBA from San Francisco State University and a BA in political science from Tel Aviv University. So Asher, amongst the different states of America, Virginia is certainly home to numerous aerospace and defense companies and boasts of a highly supportive ecosystem for businesses. Could you perhaps explain a little bit more on what Fairfax County has to offer to perhaps Indian companies looking to either establish companies there or to find partnerships? So your views on that, please, Asher.
Yes, thank you very much. And again, good evening for our guests from India, and good morning for attendees from the US, Virginia. Yes, we are sitting just outside Washington, D.C., right from Dallas Airport all the way to the Pentagon and the seat of power of the Capitol. Next slide, please. Fairfax County, Northern Virginia, is in the middle of the East Coast, which is the third largest economy in the world. You have a free airport here in Northern Virginia that take you to other markets in the US, but from Boston to Miami, you get a direct daily flight to develop your business, and that's why we see a large concentration of companies here in Fairfax County. Next slide, please. Why Fairfax? We are the technology hub of the East Coast today, with more than 10,000 technology companies just in Fairfax County alone. There are access to free international airport that are connected by metro and rail. We have 1,000+ international companies. We have the premier data center in Northern Virginia, and Virginia as all is the hub in the US for the digital infrastructure that is essential for the defense and aerospace industry and other industries. We are working with more than 60 universities and colleges to supply a talented workforce for companies around here. There are 10 Fortune 500 companies in Fairfax County. So that's mean decisions are being made here. And finally, a great quality of life in Northern Virginia, which, by the way, we have about 250,000 people from India that live in that region that are very, very successful. Next slide, please. I'll focus on the defense. As we mentioned, the U.S. defense budget or the Pentagon is about $950 billion. Just for contract, last year was about $466 billion, but we passed a law in July that I'll talk in a second that add about another $150 billion for contracts. So the defense is really the leading engine, defense and aerospace in Virginia. A lot of qualified workforce here, more than 180,000 work in this segment. You can see some of the example of companies here from the American side, Northrop Grumman, Boeing, General Dynamics. We have European, BAE, Leonardo. We have Israelis headquartered here, Elbit System, IAI. So that represents a lot of international and US concentration here in the aerospace and defense in Virginia and Northern Virginia. Next slide, please. I wanted to focus on what was passed. I think it was signed July 4th, 2025. The new administration focused on building the US capability across all arms branches. So from the Navy, additional funding for the Global Dome. That's going to be a huge project that attract a lot of interest. They already put money for the planning, and the RFP is starting to go out. So we'll see international companies plus US companies as part of it. Huge increase in munition. There's a lot of need from the munition in the world because of all the conflict we have. So that's a big investment. Additional warfare innovation, how to extend the electronic warfare, missiles, anti-radar system. A lot of opportunity there. Also about cybersecurity. Next slide, please. Additionally, air superiority and Indo-Pacific region. So we see a lot of investment there that will be opportunities for companies from India. Let's move to the second part, which is I want to focus on civilian. Next slide, please. Civilian aviation. Our team did the research for us, and just to highlight, the market will go here in North America from $250 billion to $500 billion in the next 10 years. It's mean a lot of opportunities of companies from India that specialize on all the field of civilian aviation. We put some numbers. Boeing supposed to deliver about 590 airplanes this year. Airbus planning about 820 deliveries this year. You can see they're all investing in additional manufacturer. We also have Embraer that increasing its activity, Gulfstream as well, and Textron. So this is just example of the opportunities that I think in the civilian aerospace also for Indian companies. My last slide. So just to emphasize, Northern Virginia became the hub for not just technology, but international companies, 1,000 plus. We have offices, as I mentioned, in Bangalore. We opened in 2004, focus on Karnataka and the aerospace defense. So we are 21 years there. We have offices in Berlin, cover Europe, in London, in Seoul. Tel Aviv is very active. We had the office until recently. We will resume the activity there. And we have an office also in Los Angeles that pitch Northern Virginia for American companies. We assist with soft landing. We assist with finding partners, like working with our colleague in Virginia. And overall, we think it's an excellent opportunity and business environment for Indian companies. So that's my long answer for your question.
Thank you very much, Asher. That was very helpful. Thanks for sharing that valuable information. Certainly, Fairfax County does indeed have a lot to offer to industries. And the testament to that is the long list of companies that you spoke about in your presentation. Certainly, this gives a lot of food for thought to any Indian companies that may be potentially looking to partner or set up companies there. So thank you for your views on that. So switching gears a little bit to bring in this perspective of the India-US trade environment and some of the key events or policies that have shaped it thus far, I would like to next invite and introduce Air Marshal Anil Chopra, who is currently the strategic advisor on the aerospace side for the Society of Indian Defense Manufacturers, commonly known as SIDM. Air Marshal Anil Chopra is a distinguished fighter pilot, test pilot, and pioneer of the Mirage 2000 fleet of the Indian Air Force, a qualified flying instructor and former commandant of the Aircraft and Systems Testing Establishment. He has led numerous modernization programs. He has also commanded operational air bases across India and served as officer in charge of personnel at IAF headquarters. He's also a recipient of 4 presidential awards and the French Military Aviation Medal. He's the first Indian to actually receive this international honor. So it's really a pleasure to have you here, Air Marshal Anil Chopra. So the India and the US have, of course, a long history of bilateral trade relations, and especially in the aerospace and defense sector. Could you perhaps throw some light on the specifics of the trade transactions and the historic and possibly the current business climate? What have been some of the highlights of the Indo-US relationship, and what you see to be the key aspects going forward? If you can just bring in your perspective on these topics, that would be much appreciated.
Thank you, sir, and thank you, Amrita. Kindly share my presentation. And is it full screen now? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Yes, it is.
Okay, I'm very happy to be part of this interaction. Next slide, please. Yes, one who controls air and space controls this planet has been very clear since 1950s, immediately after World War II. And I must tell you that practically more than 50% of defense budgets around the globe for the last many, many years have been on air and space. Next slide, please. And within air and space, you see bulk of the spending is on aircraft and, of course, missiles and air defense systems. And only rest of the money is going to other various other types of systems. Next. You know, the world power, military power index, United States, Russia, China. China is also closing up. So all three are more or less, getting abreast. India is number 4, but a little far forward. And therefore, there is a need for more to be done for India, and India is trying to do hard work on this count. Next. So Indo-Pacific strategy has brought India and US closer, and I must tell you that if there is no India, there is no Indo-Pacific strategy. So if that be the case, a couple of things that have happened. The nuclear deal got signed, many more aircraft we have started buying, confidence building measures were put in place. Quad has got activated, but now again has become a little dormant in the recent past. And exports have been possible, easing of exports from America to India. Next. And the USA's strategic support, India has been looking for, but not that much has come yet. Yes, to contain competitors and perhaps rival China, but now these dynamics are changing. India is also looking for support for UN Security Council. And of course, in some areas like Nuclear Suppliers Group and Vasna arrangement, etc., we have been able to get, but there are more areas that we need to work hard, especially on newer technologies. Next. So Indo-US defense enabling agreements, I've just listed them. Everybody here knows that we have put in place slowly but steadily all the types of agreements except RDP, which will happen soon, I hope. That'll give a legal binding to SOSA and we have positioned liaison officers in different places, in different operational areas between the two countries. Yes, next. See the type of acquisitions. I want to highlight that the bulk of acquisitions from America have been aerospace related. See the types of aeroplanes they are carrying. Other than the fighter ecosystem, the Americans have got into India's entire aviation ecosystem. They're already significant in civil aviation. And now you see with the last MQ-9 drones will be coming another 2 years from now, year and a half. So they have got into our ecosystem completely. Yes, next. And recent positives, I'm talking of positives between Trump 1 and Biden administration, because in Trump 2, there have been some issues, which I'll briefly talk about. There was no cuts on S-400, even when we were buying oil from Iran. There was no criticism on some of the policies in Kashmir, etc. And there were cooperation in defense, semiconductors, and critical minerals, space. And all this was happening beautifully till very recently. Even when the Ukraine war started, the Russian oil continued to be, in fact, we started buying more than what the Americans wanted us to buy. And the countries have been engaging at CEOs and various other levels. Next. So US defense companies, I've listed only the big ones, but we just heard about Moog, yeah, I know as a young pilot, I remember when LCA was coming up, we were dependent. I myself visited US a few times, and we saw how Moog helped the, flight control systems in LCA, but there is a huge significant presence. And this presence, I'm happy to say, notwithstanding whatever little, headwinds and political headwinds that might be flowing, the presence is only increasing. Next. So defense bilateral dialogue mechanism. Once again, I've listed a large number of dialogue mechanisms which have been in place only in defense, and there are one hell of a lot at different levels, service headquarters, MODs, the government to government levels, and I think a phenomenal amount of. And in one of these dialogues, we are sitting here in Indo-American Chamber of Commerce, and we are talking, on many issues. And I think lots of things are in place. Next, please. Yes. Indo-US military exercise, especially in air and naval side, we are doing one hell of a lot. Of course, we are doing a lot of exercise with the Army. So interoperability is, improving, and we are coming to know each other much better. Next. There are, of course, some friction points. We all know that. It's in the media. We are all reading in the newspapers every day. We are making headlines, not the good headlines. A non-alignment strategic autonomy, India has been like that for the last 75 years and wants to be like that. India will remain closer to Russia for some more time. Surely BRICS, Russian oil, these are things which are not great for America. There is a hot local relations between America and Pakistan, and that keep bothering, sometimes they keep bothering India. There are issues on which trade balance, tariffs, there are issues on which technology transfers. There is a worry in India about arm twisting by the Americans. They'll slow down whenever they want you to, like we did a nuclear explosion a couple of 2 decades back, and then there was an issue for it. H-1B visa is another issue. But I'm an optimist. All these frictions, I believe they all just come and go. It's not the first time that's happened, and it's not going to be the last time it will happen, but it'll all be smooth. And I think we are talking very positively. Next. Managing US, India, Russia dynamics is something it's important from, I think, everybody's point of view. We can't wish away Russia. We've had long friendships. For whatever reasons, if I may use the word, in 1950s, India was pushed into Russian arms, Soviet arms, because of whatever reasons. And what you have now, the West has done, I strongly believe that you have pushed Russia into Chinese arms this time. It is something the Russians would have been very happy to be part of the West. But whatever the politics be, and I have spoken in many forums in India and abroad and listened to the American point of view. Well, the West has its own point of view, but fair enough. Next, please. The Quad is, I think, by and large, it's in place. America wants it more militarized. India is not ready for it. India is not the only one. Australia is sitting in sunny south, enjoying their beer. They're hardly spending anything on defense, and I think only the Japanese and the Americans are putting more bucks in Quad yet. But I will tell you that India's defense budget is going to look after the entire Indian Ocean part of it, and will also be in a position to reach the South China Sea. Next. I also want to highlight that the alignments-wise, the Americans are sitting very pretty. They are all rich friends, rich partners, or even the ones who are aligning like India towards America, vis-a-vis China. If you see on the screen, the Chinese are being supported by, economic paupers, if I may use that word. Whether it's North Korea, it's Pakistan, and, a few of them who are sitting on the fence. Next. So now I'm coming to my last two slides. Collaboration remains important for us, surely, and that is why how smoothly and clearly and without making big issues, we are trying to do back channel with the American administration to sort out these, our commerce minister is right now on the run. And there are issues where we need to do better. We can improve our interoperability more. There are areas of new technology, some of which I'll list just now, where we can work together. Make in India is important for India, and joint ventures is perhaps a good idea. Many joint ventures in India have already, worked well. So there is a need to, but in all this, Americans have to remember that strategic autonomy remains important for India, and you have to play the game within this strategic autonomy, and yet, gain from setting up industry here. Many American companies are making big money today. There are more iPhones being made in India, and of course, there are Japanese exporting cars to Japan from India. Next. Aerospace is an area of actual cooperation, as I said, because the facts and figures are already showing it. I've listed these technologies. Technologies are very well known: quantum, artificial intelligence, semiconductors, hypersonic, electronic warfare, cyber, direct energy weapons, advanced weapons, aero engines, stealth, MUMT. These are technologies where we are already talking, but I think more needs to be done. And of course, the last point is avoid policy upheavals with the change of administration. That's not good for both heart and mind. Next one, please. Next. Yeah, okay, the last slide, SIDM. I happen to be the advisor to SIDM, and I must sell the organization to you because SIDM is the main body, apex body, backed by MOD and have been handholded by MOD, and we are helping interface Indian defense industry with bridge the gap between government industry, including foreign industry, and the armed forces. Practically every week we have about 2 events of the kind we are having, and many of them are physical get-togethers in Delhi or elsewhere, and we are traveling abroad a lot. So there is we are supporting policy advocacy for the industry to gain, and one key area that we support is the MSMEs, the smaller ones, the ones who are actually making small components for larger systems and selling all over the world, and we will continue to do that in SIDM, and we're happy to engage with all of you. Next. Yes, so lastly, try to move India back into US fold, and I'm sure it's going to happen. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Air Marshal Anil Chopra, for bringing these diverse perspectives of the current and the future opportunities for Indo-US trade, and also the business and the geopolitical environment. Certainly that element of humor that you brought in here and there certainly made it all the more interesting. Thank you. So now just pivoting back to Virginia as a state in the US, and then what it has to offer from a technology ecosystem perspective. I would like to next introduce Mr. Brett A. Vassey, President and CEO, Virginia Manufacturers Association. Brett leads the Virginia Manufacturers Association, the only statewide organization exclusively representing Virginia's 5,000 plus manufacturers and nearly 250,000 employees. So since 1922, VMA has championed industry growth through advocacy, innovation, and workforce development. As the 6th president and CEO, Mr. Vassey has helmed the organization for nearly 23 years, also leading affiliate bodies such as the Manufacturing Skills Institute, the Virginia Chemistry Council, Women in Manufacturing, and the Virginia Industry Foundation. So Brett, no doubt Virginia is home to large industries, and it also has a resourceful support structure. There are opportunities to obtain support from research centers, academic institutions, and so on. So could you perhaps elaborate a little bit on the specifics of the support ecosystem that makes it attractive for companies to engage with?
Thank you, Shyam, and thank you to IACC and Fairfax County for including us in this important meeting today. I hope to leave you all with a couple of things. One, I want to leave you with some information of, as you've heard a lot of numbers about the A&D, aerospace and defense industry in the United States. I want to give you a little more information about the import-export picture, because for companies to think about investing in the United States or partnering in the United States and then potentially even exporting back to India, that context is important. But where is Virginia's place in that? Not everybody's heard of Virginia or has been to the Commonwealth, but I'm going to give you some information about that and then talk about the ecosystem. There is a very robust ecosystem that goes back 80 years in the Commonwealth around aerospace and defense, and then give you a little insight into the companies that are at the top of the list in partnerships, in opportunities for export and foreign direct investment. And then I'll close up with what our organization, who for 103 years has been helping the manufacturers in the Commonwealth grow and prosper, and our largest group within the manufacturing sector is still one of the largest is still the defense and aerospace, when we include UAS, when we include satellites and all of the above, including civil aviation and military, it's substantial. So next slide. So here's context. U.S. trade opportunities, I'm not going to repeat what you've heard before, but this gives you a little more granular view as to what the A&D market looks like in the United States, particularly with the trade balance. That's very important to think about. How Virginia, its role in this, is very outsized compared to every other state, with the exception of maybe Texas and California. Just the Department of Economic Development spend in the Commonwealth alone is $103 billion per year. That's a pretty substantial investment. Total statewide impact of the defense industries within the Commonwealth, it's 19% of our gross state product, and about 870,000 jobs are dependent on DoD alone. That is a substantial impact. And that's not new. That's a steady impact over the course of almost 70 years. We have seen that share of our economy, 20% roughly, dedicated to DoD. Next slide. Oftentimes, and several decades ago, I was an economic developer in international trade and in domestic as well. And I know that one of the things that companies are looking for with FDI and partnerships is they are looking for, is there a supportive ecosystem? Is there, and that's what we call it, an ecosystem of shared resources. And the next slide will give you just a little snippet of some of the top programs in the Commonwealth. Everything from additive manufacturing and advanced materials, which there's a brand new hub being built in the Commonwealth dealing with this. And we have one of the first manufacturers of 3D printed parts that are automotive, that are AS qualified and NASA qualified, all the way through our Virginia spaceport. People may not realize, but we have NASA Langley and we have what we call NASA Wallops Island. Wallops Island is a small barrier island off the coast of Virginia, and it's been home to a NASA facility that deals with rockets, and it actually supplies the International Space Station periodically. So there are opportunities in that supply chain. And then, of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention on the defense side, we have the largest naval base in the world, and that is Norfolk Naval Station. And all those suppliers are substantial as you look at their impact. And then, of course, up in Northern Virginia, which is where Asher and his organization is centered, we have the Pentagon, and everybody knows the Pentagon and that supply chain. So many, many opportunities, but there is a very organized and very systematic federal and state and university ecosystem that supports the A&D industry. And that's extremely important because, as you all know, this is a very complicated business when you get at clearing products for export or doing partnerships, particularly in anything that is a weapon system or the like. Next slide. So what does Virginia's specific manufacturing capability look like? We thought we'd give you a little snapshot of the world-class companies and where they're located. And this is just a small selection of names you may know where they're located. I wanted to give this to you and then give you some context. This is just a snapshot of there are 5,000 factories in the Commonwealth, and many of them are in the supply chain for aerospace and defense including UAS products and satellite systems. Just in the aircraft carrier supply chain in the Commonwealth of Virginia, we have 295 companies. And just in the nuclear submarine supply chain, we have 278 companies. And that is just a small piece of this. And in particular, the carrier supply chain is the larger, and that's a $2.3 billion impact, a spend, with about 16,000 jobs dedicated to that. That is a pretty substantial, and those are manufacturing jobs. So those are opportunities, and these companies, I'll close by saying all of these companies in the supply chain, whether they're an OEM or they're a prime contractor, however you want to place them in the marketplace, they all have requirements for having a supply chain that's qualified and diversified and has to grow quickly, because our Department of Defense, NASA, all of those big drivers are looking at substantial growth over the next 4 years. They all have to diversify their supply chain. So they're looking for good suppliers, they're looking for good partners. And although this chart has very large companies, and they tend to be the prime contractors, I'll remind everybody in the Commonwealth of Virginia, of 3,000 of the 5,000 factories in the Commonwealth have less than 100 employees. These are small businesses, and they do look at strategic partnerships in a different way. And so there are opportunities domestically. And then the last thing I'll share with you all is we do have a robust trade zone, foreign trade zone program through our port system and our aerospace, our airports. And so there are real opportunities not only for foreign direct investment, but also partnerships in the U.S. where you could then bring in components, you could assemble and manufacture and re-export. And there are real tax advantages to that. Not all states have a robust foreign trade zone capability, and those have serious tax advantages for preferred states and countries and industries. So I'll close by saying we have a program at the VMA, that's what we trade our name as, VMA, called Made in Virginia, and it offers one-stop shop to help companies with partnerships, with economic development connections, particularly with organizations like Asher. We do some of our own. We have our own incentive programs, and we have our own workforce training organization, and then we have our own process improvement and organizational development, including consulting under ISO, AS, and process improvement across the board to help companies with profitability and productivity. So when you get here, you're never forgotten. You're always part of a manufacturing community and an ecosystem that is dedicated to your success. And that includes export, import, and all in between. And I encourage everybody, if you've not visited the United States or visited the Commonwealth, we'd love to be your host, and we would love to see you at any time. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you, Brett, for providing this valuable information to our participants today, certainly to the manufacturing community. I think it's very encouraging to note the vast networking support that VMA has to offer. So thank you very much. So staying on the topic of Northern Virginia, it certainly offers a unique convergence of elements that no other US region can match. I can say that with confidence. So Virginia is home to numerous technological hubs and manufacturing, and with that perspective, I would like to next introduce Mr. Joe Scarletto, who is the EVP, Global Technical Lead, AMCUS Inc. Joe is an experienced forensic accountant with a distinguished career in the insurance industry. His expertise spans enterprise risk management, business interruption, fraud investigations, risk management, and auditing. He holds an MBA in accounting and finance from American International University. Interestingly, Mr. Scarletto has testified and served as an expert witness in numerous international tribunals, mediations, and arbitrations. So, Joe, one could confidently say that Virginia is the hub for defense and technological innovation. So, in your view, how could Indian companies possibly indulge in business capture and accelerate market entry using what Virginia has to offer? Any thoughts on that, Joe?
Absolutely. Thanks, everybody, for joining. I think the big focus of mine being a consultant is human capital. I think that Northern Virginia, not only from a manufacturing standpoint, but from a human capital standpoint, has a lot of opportunities. For those that don't know, AMCUS is a bilateral headquartered company in Chantilly, Virginia, and Nashik, India. We succeeded bringing the Indian labor force to our clients here in the US through staff augmentation. I think the game of staff augmentation has shifted from general labor. That's evident today by yesterday's announcement from Amazon of laying off 14,000 individuals, where agentic AI and other AI products have increased efficiency in processes. I think, we're very proud of what we've done, but we're realizing that for us at AMCUS, AI and specialty services from India is a great opportunity for Indian companies to bring human capital and connect through a bridge to Northern Virginia and all of Virginia in essence. Being so close to the government sector, we really look at our client base and where we think there's opportunities. And I felt that with this presentation, I wanted to kind of highlight some of the companies and some of the avenues of how, not just how AMCUS did it, but other Indian-based companies that succeeded in Virginia have done it. So with that being said, you can move to the next slide and we can get started on some of the thought process here. So for those that don't know, tech advantage in Northern Virginia is primary. If you have a unique differentiator as a corporation or an asset that you have, bringing that to Virginia, to Northern Virginia, is got a huge opportunity. For those that know prime contractor clusters, there's a lot of them. Prime contractors are evident if you drive from Northern Virginia to DC. You will pass every one of these on the highway, on any one of the highways that you take to get out of Northern Virginia. Digital infrastructure, Asher alluded to it. If you live, visit, or stay in Northern Virginia, there is going to be a data center, big, giant building with no windows and lots of air conditioning units in Northern Virginia. With that said, keep in mind, every single one of those facilities requires a high level of power. Power is the biggest issue with data centers. It's facing us in Northern Virginia. We have town hall meetings, community meetings, subdivision meetings about power. So power suppliers, people that are looking at power systems, IoT for the power industry, hydrogen technology is a huge growth area. Here, I don't know if it'll sustain the growth that we're seeing in Northern Virginia, but I know it's being analyzed on a daily basis. Electric vehicles are higher, but it's the data centers that are really straining the resources in Northern Virginia. So I'm sure we would all welcome some new technology looking at, hydrogen generators or fuel cells, things that aren't as prevalent in the United States, that may be used in other regions like Asia Pac with hydrogen fuel cells. Fed Innovation Hub, we can discuss that. DARPA Pentagon was discussed earlier. They're looking for new technologies. They're looking for AI, not just agentic AI, but true AI that allows them to deploy resources, military defense resources, without using human capital. That technology requires humans somewhere to program them, to work them, to analyze them, to monitor, quality assurance. Those are all part of the ancillary services that would assist a primary contractor here in Northern Virginia. Talent and incentives we can get into later, but I want to go to the next slide and move on. I'm conscious of time, and I want to get to the last slide as quickly as possible because I really think it lays out some ideas. Cloud infrastructure. Obviously, with data centers, AI, it's cloud infrastructure. That's one aspect that we are very strong in at AMCUS, but other companies as well have popped up here in Virginia that are really focused on digital engineering and cloud security. Not just cyber, but physical security, physical aspects of it, which requires human capital. So you're talking about camera systems, you're talking about alarm systems, you're looking at logistics, infrastructure on ports here, bringing products in, robotics. For those that don't know, huge growth area. Robotics are being used and 13 to 17% of manufacturing in the US. In some facet, obviously Tesla's the leader with autonomous robots, but that is a huge growth area. So robotic engineers are a focus for hire here. Robotic innovation, another huge aspect of it. We can talk about geospatial, but that's been a huge hot topic for a while. As we look at geopolitical and sociopolitical impact from the conflicts that are currently going on in the world, I think geospatial is essential and only getting better on a daily basis with drones and drone technology growing and becoming more precise, satellites becoming more optically precise. I think there's some great opportunities there. You can go to the next slide. And just a strategic partnership roadmap, I wanted to lay this out. Kind of what Brett alluded to, it is a process to become a supplier, vendor, to go through that aspect of growth here with the companies located in Virginia. It is definitely possible. AMCUS did it very successfully. Other companies have done it very successfully. Obviously, AMCUS being an Indian-owned company, it's a little bit different because it is very close to heart. But there are very, very good opportunities on partnering versus establishing and trying to go at it yourself. These companies have been doing it for a very long time. They know what they're doing. They look for great vendors that can deliver clean, as Brett said, supply chain, clean manufacturing, and have as much transparency as needed for their government contracts. That's the one thing I will say. And when you're bridging India and the US, transparency in manufacturing rights, employee rights, ethics, all of those things are a huge aspect of your planning to get to Virginia. It is part of every questionnaire, any TPRM, third-party risk management. Another aspect of AMCUS that we do very well for the US government is we really vet the vendors. And one of those questionnaires really focuses on your human rights as an employer in India. It's something that is looked at by the US government, and the US government takes pride in some of those aspects. You can go to the next slide. So compliance, I'll real quick touch this. I want everyone to look at the slide, but obviously there are standards here in the US that are respected, and being a risk management consultant, I can tell you that in the risk management space, there has never been a more regulated focus than there is today. Not just because of governance, but more because of artificial intelligence and the issues that are arising from it. We can talk about AI bias, we can talk about AI issues, but this isn't an AI conversation. This is an opportunity, right? So AI has great opportunities, but with great AI comes great risk, right? So the better the AI, the more you let it operate as an agent to your business, you may establish great efficiency, but you increase the risk profile of that company. So there are some great quality assurance positions available, and looking for companies that can supply that kind of human capital to the Virginia area. You can go to the next slide. And this is just a vision document. I hope you guys get a copy of this, but I wanted to focus on each aspect of creating the strategic vision for your company. I think with bilateral opportunities, there, and Brett alluded to exporting from Virginia, I think supplying to and creating partnerships where you can supply back to India products that your partnership provides. I think that there's collaboration that could be realized in the human capital space, where our company brings in a lot of individuals for training here. We have temporary workforce that comes in. We have a lot of visitors from India that are located in our office that come in, learn what we're doing, and understand what our clients are seeking. I think that's really important. From my experience at AMCUS, I think having your human capital in India be here for a visit, for a short tenure, allows them to understand exactly what the client is looking for, so there's no loss in communication. Because you could train the trainer all day, But if you train the trainer and the trainer isn't here in the US for a period of time and understands what these government contracts or what these customers want, it's going to be very difficult to explain. So from a human capital perspective, just to wrap it up, I think there's great opportunity. I think specialty, robotics, AI, cloud engineering, great avenues, great ways to build a conduit or a bilateral bridge between India and Virginia. So thank you for your time. And with that, I'll say I'll hand it over to Shyam again.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you, Joe. Thanks for enthusing our attendees by highlighting what Virginia is a probable launchpad for Indian technology, aerospace, defense, and of course the AI firms entering the US market. So thanks for providing that valuable information. Switching topics now, when you think of design, development, and manufacturing components and systems for civil and military aerospace platforms, one realizes that involves a lot of rigor and the criticality of meeting compliances. On that topic, I would like to introduce someone who's actually going to be soon building a business jet aircraft in India, and for the world. Mr. Arunakar Mishra, who is the Managing Director and CEO of Gensar Aerospace and IT Private Limited. Mishra ji brings over 4 decades of experience in aerospace and technology, having worked across multiple divisions of Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, popularly known as HAL or HAL, and led international operations in London. He has played a key role in IT systems integration, export promotion, and global partnerships with multiple companies. At Gensar Aerospace, he continues to drive innovation and global competitiveness in aerospace design and manufacturing. Arunakar, when aerospace products are either exported or imported, I know that there are multiple inherent quality and certification related aspects that have to be carefully considered. There are standards and certification bodies that provide a framework for this. Could you provide from your experience, some insights in dealing with such scenarios in terms of quality compliances or certifications and such?
Yeah. Thank you, Shyam. I will also request Amrita to share a snapshot of what we do. So, but before I go into that, let me answer to the point about the certification. Basically, in India, there are very few components or systems which are acceptable into American system as it is for direct fitment. What is being done in India is production of components as a part of supply chain, which are built to print. So drawing is given, and suppose Boeing gives a drawing, Boeing is responsible for what is being produced, or Moog is responsible for what is being produced. But as a system, we hardly produce anything which go and get fitted into the aircraft. Now for that, what is known as TSO. So FAA gives a TSO to, say, for example, FDR, the black box. So black box will have a TSO, then it can go and get fitted into any aircraft. In India, what we have is ITSO. That also is not very many. The examples are the flight data recorder, DME, some computers, few GPS chips. They have got ITSO, that is Indian TSO. TSO is Technical Standard Order. So when TSO is given, that part can be fitted anywhere. So this is one area where there is a two-way certification exchange can happen, and then trade can happen. The American components which come to India, and if it has to be fitted into defense, for defense application, they have to go through the Indian Certification Agency approval and acceptance. The two companies or two organizations are Semilac and DGAQA. So they have to approve before a unit or a component or a system can be directly fitted into Indian aircraft. That kind of assistance can be given. SIDM can help, or some of the organizations like us can help. The reverse is also true. There are many items are being produced in India which comply to various standards, which are fitted into Indian aircraft. Very large number of standard parts, for example. But we cannot export that for fitment into American aircraft unless there is a counterpart acceptance system in USA. So there is a need for this kind of a cross certification exercise. Now coming to Genser itself, I will give you examples of what we do, what we have done, and what is possible. So Genser basically is an aerospace engineering organization which works across the spectrum of aerospace product lifecycle. So it covers aerospace engineering, covers design, it covers manufacturing services, it covers aviation services, and research and analytics. Going from the reverse direction, research and analytics, we have done research or a sort of a market survey for UK government and Australian government. What they wanted was how to reach Indian market, what to do, how products can be sold into Indian market, what is Indian market, and what to do. So we had done a very extensive study for them, for these two governments. We can do similar thing for Virginia or Fairfax County. The gist of that was, the gist of recommendation was, don't try to sell into India only. So do three things: sell into India, buy from India, and sell from India. Then only the market gets enlarged. So these three things were the key suggestions. What have we done for American companies? See, we have done manufacturing supply chain development for Pratt & Whitney and Hamilton Sunstrand when nothing existed. So we built from scratch what they wanted to buy, a supply chain for that. So that kind of thing is possible for many companies wanting to set up supply chain or buy from here. Other example which I can give is, we work with a company, for example, we can do a lot of testing related activities. There is a huge scope for testing. CalSpan, for example, is a wind tunnel facility. A lot of wind tunnel testing happens for Indian aircraft into CalSpan. What we are able to do for CalSpan is, we can make models in India for not only for Indian requirement, but for the global requirement. The various models which CalSpan can test can be designed and built in India. So there are many kinds of test possibilities, are many. If you see at the bottom of this slide, there is a bottom of the slide, right-hand side, right at the bottom, that is a test structure for aircraft. We can build such test structures in India, do testing and share data with many companies, any of the OEMs, we can share that data. So testing is something which can be done extensively in India, which needs huge amount of work. What else? Let me give some more examples. Okay, let me give example about the aircraft. We have an ongoing aircraft design program. So we have designed a full-fledged end-to-end 2+7 seat business jet. In that, what kind of things are happening? The engine for that kind of aircraft have to come from either from North America, either from Pratt & Whitney or GE Honda or Williams for that size of aircraft. So it has to come from there. We have to have a nice kind of a trade agreement, and those things have to evolve. A robust trade agreement is required for buying things like engine. Now, other examples of what we are trying to put onto that aircraft, the business jet, from US sources are anti-icing system from Cox and Company in USA, air data computer, fire control systems. So including even Mr. Sham's company, Moog, has got an avionics company called Genesis. It has huge potential to come into India and put glass cockpits into many aircraft, including ours. So we are discussing that. So there are many kinds of potentials, two-way, both way potentials are there. We should find various avenues, list them down, and probably through IACC, some of these can be disseminated, and we can concretize, actualize these opportunities. With that, I will stop and come later for the question answer.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mishra ji, for highlighting the importance and, of course, the nuances of the quality standards and also the certification obligations when it comes to aerospace products. And more importantly, speaking from your perspective about building an aircraft, and also thanks for providing some guiding strategies for companies looking to expand in India, especially foreign companies. Finally, to bring us home, I would like to invite and introduce an industry leader from a true blue Indian company that has made significant strides in not only making for India, but for the world in the space domain of aerospace electronics and electromechanical systems. So I take pleasure in introducing Mr. Subramanya Ullal, who is the director on the board of the SASMOS Group. Starting his career as a shop floor engineer, Mr. Ullal rose through the ranks to become vice president in Bosch India. He served as the managing director of Bosch Electrical Drives, a joint venture of Bosch, and finally as a CEO of UK and India, a leading Japanese multinational company in the hydraulics industry. So as CEO, he contributed to the growth of SASMOS in the aerospace and defense field, mainly serving global customers. He's now on the board of SASMOS Group of companies in a non-executive role, sharing his experience and advising the industry. Subramanya, as an Indian company engaging with US customers and exporting to global OEMs, what would you say are some of the significant success factors that our audience should note? And also, what have been some of the challenges? If you can kindly throw some light on that, please.
Thank you, Sham, for the introduction. I represent SASMOS, which is a medium-sized Indian company, which is exported extensively to US. So that's why I make a small background presentation about our company to tell you more about it, and then a couple of points from my side about what are our experiences and what are the success factors and what can go wrong. Next slide, please. So in order to understand our company, we should also a little bit know what products we make. The next slide. We make the wiring harnesses, precision wiring, rugged defense wiring, RF and fiber cables, panels, special satellite harnesses. These are all the products that we make. Next slide, please. So we started in 2007. Mr. Mishra talked about difficulties of certifications, and he said that we should start with products certified from the big OEMs, and we make as per their design. Very much true. So we started as build-to-print company, but over these years, we have then realized that build-to-spec is possible. It's possible for us to be a design company, but it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of efforts and resources. So we have now more than 1,400 people working. Since 2007, 25% CAGR, roughly about 90 million revenue now. We are now exporting to more than 14 countries, mainly from Bangalore. On the left bottom side, you also see something written about our acquisition in UK. In 2021, we acquired a company there. This was at about 2 million pounds, and now it's at 8 million pounds. We have made that company grow from 10,000 square feet to 20,000 square feet. We have also started one company in Morocco, and then we are also planning to do something in the US. What are we trying to do in the US? We want to build a center of competence for missile and aircraft wirings and panels. We want to do something on fiber optics and also work on design solutions and international purchase office. So this is roughly where we are located and a rough indication, rough description of what our company is doing. Next slide, please. So the next slide explains describes our customers. We started in 2009 with Israel Air Force Industry, IAI, then Rafael and Elbit Systems from Israel. Of course, we were supplying to our Indian customers, Tata, L&T, BEML. Then we also started supplies to MBDA, Airbus, to Pilatus. To Pilatus, we have supplied more than 170 shipsets of aircraft wiring harnesses, to Saab for their trainer jets from our joint venture in India with Focorelmo. We have also supplied to Lockheed Martin more than 39,000 wiring systems. And then our main customer, Boeing, we started our supplies to their defense aircrafts. And now we were also supplying to their civilian aircrafts. We have supplied more than 70,000 products to them over 9 platforms, electromechanical panels and wiring harnesses. So with all this experience with build to specification from build to print from these global OEMs, with Deutsche Aircraft, we have now an understanding that we will design their wiring harnesses. So this is how we have grown, and it is possible to start with build to print, with just taking a design from a OEM and then to develop later on. Next slide, please. So the next slide describes that we are present as a component supplier for fighter aircrafts. We started surveillance aircraft, business jets, cargo and military equipments, trainer aircrafts, and commercial aircrafts. This is how our journey has been in aircrafts. We have also supplied to the rotary vehicles, heavy lift rotary, advanced lightweight rotary, and multi-role rotary helicopters. Then also to UAVs. On the right side, you see from BTP. BTP, when you do build to print, we localize products. Then you start with suggestions to your global customers on weight reduction. That is the beginning of build to spec. Then we make a proto, we make line replacement units. Then we get into design of these products. This is how our journey has been. And as I said, to more than 14 countries, we have been supplying our products. We have from India, of course, we are not a global multinational. We started from zero from India. So we are a medium-sized company now. And it's possible to export to countries abroad for the aerospace industries with certain resources which are now established upfront. That is the point that I would like to describe more upon in the next slide. Please go to the next slide. So we can skip this slide. These are some of the recognitions that we have achieved. The last slide here. What is an advice? What's coming out of our experience? In an aerospace market, exports to the aerospace markets certainly requires the Indian companies to do front loading of investments in infrastructure, in machines, in processes, in human resources. This, unless you put up your industry and show it to a customer, no customer is going to come to you. Mr. Mishra spoke about certifications. I don't think I have to add a little bit more on the certifications. It's a big entry barrier, but you have to go through this. You have to struggle, get the certifications required for your processes, for your products to make a mark. An advice to the Indian companies is to really spend money on marketing in international platforms. It's not sufficient if you have put up your industry here, and if you just talk to the Indian counterparts of big global OEMs. You need to go to multinational exhibitions. You need to make your presence felt. You need to keep speaking to the global OEMs. As we discussed, we may have to start with build to print. We may have to start with by demonstrating the process competence before your own product is accepted. You have to show your reliability. You have to show your export capabilities. You have to show your quality with your process competence, and this has to be shown again and again. The biggest difference between other markets and aerospace is that it takes a very, very long time for the customer to come to you, and then after he comes to you, series of teams will come. It's not that one team would come and then next you get an RFQ. Never happens. You will get at least 10 teams before you get the first RFQ. And these 10 teams cannot come immediately. So it's a period of more than 3-4 years before you can even think of an RFQ. So during these 3-4 years, you have to continuously demonstrate your excellence. Yeah, so it's a long-term game, but if you are good at something, if you have a core competence, I think it is still possible to be profitable in this business. I have put that as the last point, that it's not that with our experience we want to frighten people about coming into this. I would like to give confidence that this business of exports in aerospace is certainly profitable, but profitable in the very long term. It's not profitable for 2 years, 3 years, but you will certainly see light beyond 5 years. So these were some points of experience from my side. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to IACC and also Shah.
Excellent. Thank you, Subramanya, for sharing your thoughts and providing the perspectives on actually a glide path and strategies for business growth from an Indian aerospace company perspective, exporting globally. So thank you very much for that. With that, we have come to the end of the session in terms of each of the speakers presenting their views and thoughts and presentations. So I really appreciate and I thank each one of the panelists who have joined today to provide their perspectives on, especially from an American state such as Virginia, what that has to offer. And again, from the Indian perspective in terms of how the current geopolitical situation, how to navigate that, some of the strategies for business growth from an Indian company perspective, a lot of thoughts related to product certification and quality compliance and such. So a wide variety of topics. I'm really thankful to all the speakers that provided information and inputs in today's webinar. So in the interest of time, I know that we have run over a little bit, but still it's time now to take some questions. I think there are about 3 questions that are in the chat box. I will go ahead and read them out, and whoever feels most comfortable answering them, you could pick up, or maybe I could even suggest. So first question is from Bhupesh Tater. If all of you could open the Q&A session, the speakers, you would be able to read through it. Essentially, Bhupesh is asking how smaller companies in Virginia, which Brett mentioned, especially for aircraft carriers and submarines who are interested in the Indian market, how do we connect with them? I think is the question that Bhupesh is asking. Brett, any quick thoughts on that or any guidance that you can provide to Bhupesh?
So I'll restate the question. He's interested in how does he reach the smaller suppliers to the aircraft and submarine OEMs. That's through us. We can do that. There are also a couple of organizations that specifically work on DoD contracting in the coastal area where the shipyard is, and so we can provide that introduction to those companies, and it's a direct introduction, and that way you don't waste a lot of time.
Excellent. That's very helpful, Brett. Thank you. So Bhupesh, I think the key is to reach out to the VMA, and then through them, I think what you intend to do could be possible. The next question is from Raghav Reddy. I think his question is more related to if there's an intent to expand an Indian company's business in Fairfax County, would that provide any benefits in terms of visas and taxes and such? So I feel, Asher, maybe you would be the right person to respond to this.
Yes, we work with a lot of companies from India. We are a team in Bangalore plus my outreach. We help company by helping them to find their go-to-market partners and the initial needs to establish a presence here, from finding the right person, making introduction like what Brett saying, companies already here, look at the product, maybe they can go to a market together. We cannot help with visa recommendation, it's beyond our mission. So that's something we are limited. Overall, if the company already produced and ready to go to the US market, we can help with additional grant and working with the state of Virginia that gives some grant about job creation. I think Fairfax is the best incentive we do is we build the infrastructure and the business community and the very friendly and stable tax environment in the state of Virginia to attract so many companies. Such as from India, I work with a lot of Israeli companies. By the way, I would like to add to Anil Chopra what he said. In Virginia, we have a triangle of Israeli, Indian, and of course, Virginia, US company that can integrate their offering to the US market, but also look back at other markets like such as in Morocco and the UAE and India, of course. That's something that we've seen happening a lot in Virginia, the India-US Israel triangle. I just wanted to say it.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Asher. And hopefully, Raghav, you can connect with the Fairfax County Economic Development Authority and take your queries forward. The next question is from Manoj Dine. I think his question is more in terms of, given the current geopolitical environment between the India and US, what strategies or safeguards can ensure sustained continuity in the India-US aerospace and defense partnerships? I think Subramania touched upon it in terms of some of the strategies. But Anil Chopra, sir, would you like to maybe expand a little bit more on this? Maybe a couple of bullet points, just briefly.
One word, patience. One word, patience. I think things are going to be all right. As I said earlier, I'm an optimist. There are these little hiccups we are going through, but it'll be all right. Company-wise companies, aerospace, defense, we are talking, nothing earth-shaking has happened in this. We are already talking. Our associations are meeting. SIDM is hosting many of your, organizations. We are doing seminars. We have put down in the chat box the email ID for us, Director General of SIDM. Kindly, anybody feels any issues, including policy advocacy, and including to be taken up with Ministry of Defense and the Government of India, or to be taken up with the other industry. We are here to sort of support that exercise. And there is, notwithstanding the current geopolitics, in the long term, India is important. India is big. It's going to be the third largest economy very shortly. It's the biggest defense, the fastest growing civil aviation and defense market. So therefore, there is action. And I think let's all work to find solutions to small hindrances. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Anil Chopra. The next question is from Sriram Nandakumar, and his question is mostly related to the key challenges Indian companies face when expanding operations into the US and how they can prepare better. So especially in his last slide, I think Subramania did touch upon some of the success factors and the strategies for expanding. But Subramania, is there anything more that you can provide as a response to Sriram's question?
Yeah, I think he's speaking about expanding the operations inside US. In addition to, there are several challenges. In addition to whatever I discussed, I think US is a very big country, and deciding where you will start, that itself is a big challenge. Yeah, are you going to look at taxation and see which state gives you the best taxation facilities? Are you going to look at where your customer is? The customers are well spread out. So where do you start? Do you start close to your major customer, or do you want to start to a potentially big customer? So location, I think, is a very big point. Then we have costs. We have to see how do we get the best out of both countries. You are an Indian company, you have your strengths, but you are going there, and so you need to use resources from both sides. And how do you balance out these resources? I feel this will be the second most biggest challenge. Of course, the moment you go to US, your chances of improving your business, extending your business, expanding your business are certainly more. Going there helps. But I would say to start with, these are the two challenges. One, location. Second one, how do you balance out the resources from US versus from India?
Thank you. Thank you, Subramania. There are a couple of more questions in the chat window and not in the Q&A window. I think someone was asking, how do we get in touch with Asher or Joe or Brett or the IACC or the SIDM? I think in the chat window, the email addresses and the contact details have been provided. So hopefully that answers your questions. And then there is another question from Bhavya. She's asking how smaller Indian companies can get opportunities of contract manufacturing in India. Again, I think the Virginia Manufacturers Association would be a good source for that. And I think this person represents a reliable global sourcing. So then there's one other question that I saw, Prajakta Huddeder. What are the work opportunities in defense in cybersecurity field? I think Joe's presentation really touched upon a lot of that information in terms of AI and cybersecurity. Anything more that you would like to add, Joe, or was that enough?
No, I think that's enough, but I do want to touch on cybersecurity as well a little bit. Obviously, that is a growing industry every single day. For those that don't know, KnowBe4 was founded in Virginia by the late Kevin Mitnick. That's a very prominent product used. There are opportunities to feed every aspect of cybersecurity in Northern Virginia. So endpoint, secure aspects, server security. So yes, there's a lot of great opportunities, but again, you have to align yourself, especially in cybersecurity, as I said before, with the proper regulations and the proper process. I'm sure Brett could help, Asher could help with that aspect of it, helping your company ensure that it's compliant to what is needed, especially on the cybersecurity. We are very America forward these days, so it's more focused on partnership models when it comes to security and other aspects. But yeah, contact Brett and Asher and look for companies that are complementary, where you could add human capital to their offerings.
If you allow me to add, I'll just say that Digital Security Council of India is doing a great job. They're sitting along with NASSCOM in Noida, and they are organizing some of the biggest events in the country on cybersecurity. And if anybody wants to contact, they're the right people. I can help them connect. Yes.
Great. There's also a question from Chaitali. Again, she's referring back to opportunities in infra and cloud, AI, and some of the other frontier technologies. So hopefully, Chaitali, Joe's response to the most recent question and also some of the information that he shared in the presentation should help you answer that. If you have any further questions, you can certainly reach out to Ampersand through Joe's contact details. I think with that, in the interest of time and also seeing that there are no further questions, I would like to bring this session to an end. Once again, my sincere thanks to all the speakers in today's webinar. It was really a demonstration of great partnership between the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce and the Fairfax County Economic Development Authority, and also the Society of Indian Defense Manufacturers, and to the industry leaders as well. So thank you very much for that. And with that, I hand it back to Amrita if you have any further closing comments, Amrita.
Well, thank you to all our speakers and participants for joining with us today. It has been an insightful session, bringing together thought leaders and industry experts and to discuss on the opportunities for India-US collaboration in aerospace and defense. I think the presentation from all the speakers have answered most of the queries of all our participants. Once again, a special thanks to all our esteemed speakers for sharing their valuable perspectives and experiences. Today's discussion definitely reflects the strong and evolving partnership between India and the US, which is building on innovation, collaboration, and mutual growth. So thank you so much, everybody, and have a great day ahead to our friends of US, and a very good night to everyone in India. So thank you so much.